I don't know what Otto and Toei and that whole squad was on while crafting that song, but yo, inject it. Inject it. They just recently put that as the main menu theme in One Piece Treasure Cruise, which, by the way, I pulled Uta. Yo, when I pulled Uta, I got the extended animation and I was like, there's no way. And the moment I saw, I let out this most satisfying yell, dude. Like, yeah. But finally, dude, I can't even tell you how much of a struggle it was to pull that card, man. It wasn't as big of a struggle as other units, but I really wanted this card, man. You know, I was like, you know what, if we're not getting the film over here, at least give me this. At least give me Uta in Treasure Cruise so that I can use the legend, right? Come on, I need Shanks' daughter on the team. I need her on the team. And so I finally got Uta. It's been a fantastic week. One Piece Volume 100 is finally in my possession. It's absolutely insane that 100 volumes of this series actually exist, right? Like, 100 volumes of greatness. But on that same topic today, we're going to be talking about the fact that Film Red crushed the box office. It obliterated the box office. I'm talking about it came in final tap, wallow! Straight up with Kaido's mace just Thunder Bagua Raime Hake Pang! And dude, I mean, it destroyed it. It destroyed it, son. And then on top of that, we just recently received news that One Piece currently holds the Guinness World Record for the most copies sold under a single author. Let's talk about it, yo. Film Red, baby! Now I get told every single week by at least one comment, oh, Recon, sales don't equate to quality, man. Sales never equate to quality. I'm like, I know, I understand, but it's my gimmick. It's my gimmick, man. What else am I supposed to do, dude? When there's hype on the One Piece greatness, I've got to follow. I love when this series is doing good. And naturally, if it's the best-selling manga in history, we're going to announce it loud and proud. And so today, we're going to be talking about how it broke records in the Japanese box office. Film Red, because listen to me, my dog, the big dog, and I'm not talking about Roman Reigns. I'm not talking about the head of the table. I'm talking about the greatest part-timer in the history of mankind, yo. Look at him. He only works 1 hour every couple of years. But when that man shows up, when red-haired Shanks shows up in anything, he's a draw. Don't ask me. Ask all of mankind who reads One Piece what happens when Shanks shows up. Anytime Shanks is mentioned, anytime he shows up, whatever, it always breaks the community. It always breaks, whether it be a good thing or a good thing, because it's always a good thing. I don't care if you're the biggest Shanks hater on the planet. Anytime Shanks shows up, whether it's his bounty poster, he himself to state, oh, it's almost time, Luffy. It's almost time, Luffy. He's still pink, because it's Shanks, yo. It's the triple scar. It's the Santa hat. I mean, listen to me. Anytime Shanks shows up, it's over. It's over. You already know it's an automatic trending chapter. That is an automatic chapter that is going to have everyone's wallets filled and all of us like, woohoo, it's Shanks, baby, it's Shanks. So it's like, come on, man. If we feel that way as people in the community of like, oh, man, Shanks is bringing the numbers, how do you think Oda, his entire staff, Shueisha, and Toei feel about Shanks? They're like, yo, Shanks in a movie, they're about to sell gangbusters. And they were right. Because, ladies and gentlemen, according to an article on Crunchyroll, it states Japan box office, One Piece Film Red, makes impressive #1 debut with new records. One Piece Film Red, the much-awaited 15th feature film, which is in 15 films, man. Yo, we've been out here for a minute. And the One Piece anime franchise was finally released in 376 theaters across Japan on August 6, 2022. Then earned, lucky individuals, man. If you have watched this movie, you are very lucky, and I cannot wait for this movie to come over. Then earned a huge 2.254 billion yen, which is approximately 16.92 million US dollars, on 1.58 million admissions, easily making its #1 debut. It was the best opening record for a film released in Japan this year, so far surpassing Detective Conan. Now, Conan we know is the big dog when it comes to movies over there in Japan. Not all time, obviously, because we know that belongs to Demon Slayer Mugen Train, which still holds the #1. But we got #2. We got #2. But yeah, Mugen Train was amazing, so that most certainly deserves the top spot. But in regards to anime movies, normally the most consistent every single year for bringing in a draw is the Detective Conan movies. They always do really, really well. So for Film Red to have even surpassed Detective Conan this year is very, very impressive, let alone what's about to happen here. And it states, and it's also the best opening record in the history of the film distributor Toei. Now that for me is madness, right? Because I have been a fan of Toei products for a very long time. My first 2 anime series were Sailor Moon and Dragon Ball. So I've been with Toei for a very, very long time, right? And I remember how big DBZ was over here, especially for my generation, right? DBZ was, I mean, come on, man, it's DBZ, right? And so I just remember how massive it was for us, and I can only imagine how big it was in Japan. And so I know anime is bigger now than it's ever been, but for anything to surpass Dragon Ball is crazy to me. It's crazy to me, right? And so for Film Red to have the best opening record in the history of Toei's film distribution is madness. It is madness, man. The film's first Saturday-Sunday gross was about 280% of the franchise's previous 14th film, One Piece Stampede, which released in August 2019, and about 164% of that of the top grossing film in the history of the One Piece anime franchise. The 12th film, One Piece Film Z, in December 12th, which One Piece Film Z had the, I believe until Film Red, it was the largest opening weekend for the series, if I'm not mistaken. I remember the hype for One Piece at that time was insane. That was 2012. I remember, I think it was volume 67 during the 15th anniversary whole extravaganza they were doing for the series. It sold gangbusters, and that was a random volume for Punk. I think that was the first volume of Punk Hazard, and it just broke the record for most single volumes, for most volumes sold by a single, or most copies sold by a single volume at the time. It was like an insane number, and because the One Piece high was just insane. I was coming off of, the Marineford and big Strong World catch-up that so many people were a part of, right? That brought so many eyes into the community, or into the series and the community. But remember, the Punk Hazard high was insane. So Film Z was capitalizing on all of that hype, and in and of itself is a phenomenal film. So all of that just came together to create the biggest opening box office for a One Piece movie up until that point. So then it follows that up by saying, meanwhile, the critical reception of the film has been mixed. It only ranked 3rd in Filmmark's first day satisfaction ranking with an average rating of 3.80 out of 5.0 based on 5,364 reviews. And so we're going to skip ahead forward. It says, according to Oricon News, Toei is hoping the film's overall performance will reach the 10 billion yen mark, but that may depend on how well word of mouth spreads in the future, as well as other recent hit films that have reached a milestone. And so we're gonna cut over to another article which states One Piece Film Red opens to a massive 2.25 billion yen at Japanese box office with the second best opening weekend in history. Luffy always makes a grand entrance wherever he's going, and with the 1-2 punch of in-universe superstar Uta, One Piece Film Red's first weekend was always going to be big, but just how big was it? The marketing for this, by the way, the marketing for One Piece Film Red in the States was the best marketing we've ever had for a series, and it hasn't even come out yet. Film Red has not even come out in the States yet, so I can only imagine how it was for over there in France and in Japan. Like, I can only imagine how big the marketing campaign was. One Piece Film Red had a huge first weekend after opening on August 6th on 495 screens across Japan, with the film sailing to 2.25 billion yen, which is 16.63 million, from 1.57 million tickets sold. This marks the biggest opening for a One Piece film ever, the best opening weekend for August in Japan, and the second biggest two-day opening weekend for a film in Japanese history, which once again, right behind Demon Slayer, which I know. So if we got 2.25 mil or a bill, I think Mugen Train got 3.03. So Mugen Train sold gangbusters. I mean, that in of itself. Yaiba was like, there's been multiple massive booms for like manga where they just sell an insane amount in a single year. I've been a part of 2 of them as long as I've been caught up. One of them, I mean, I'm talking about just manga. Like, of course, I've been a part of like the Dragon Ball, the Naruto, the One Piece, and all that stuff, right? But in terms of like the manga stuff, One Piece with Marineford was absolutely insane. It held the record for so many years. It was like 32 million in a single year. Yaiba came in, and I don't remember what year that was, but that was whenever the anime dropped. And it sold like 80 million in a year. It was just an absolutely insane number. And so seeing those two, it just makes so much sense that they now hold the top two spots for biggest openings in film history. Now, what's super impressive to me about both films is the fact that these, in Mugen Train's case, it is a part of the canon material, so that makes a lot of sense. But in One Piece Film Red's case, it's like, this is a series that's been around for so long. The price of admission is so huge for One Piece, right? You got to read 1,000 chapters. You have to watch, or either read 1,000 or watch 1,000 episodes. And I know a lot of people are just casual viewers when it comes to One Piece. That's why recaps exist, right? The recaps in the One Piece anime exist for people who do not watch the One Piece anime regularly. And, there's individuals like that go watch these movies who do not watch the series regularly, right? So we have to take that into account as well. But the fact remains that this movie, there's a massive price of admission, right? If you want to understand everything that's happening. So it's like, shout out to Film Red, all right? Shout out to Film Red, dude. But regardless, the One Piece Film Red Twitter account put out the tweet about the fact that it was number one, and it says Film Red couldn't topple Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba, the movie Mugen Train's 2-day opening weekend record, which still stands at 3.3 billion, which is absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. But it cleanly took out Jujutsu Kaisen Zero's 1.6 billion yen, which had the second place record. And it's crazy that, recent films, that just goes to show how big anime is getting around the world, in which the biggest openings in the history of Japanese film are all recent anime films. It's, Mugen Train, it's Jujutsu Kaisen Zero, it's One Piece Film Red. It's like, man, it's getting huge. It should be noted that both Kimetsu no Yaiba, Mugen Train, and JJK Zero both opened on a Friday, while One Piece Film Red opened on a Saturday. And the above numbers don't include the Friday opening day numbers and Weird Night previews. If counting those numbers, One Piece Film Red's weekend drops to third behind Mugen Train's enormous 4.6. Wow. That's a lot, dude. See, now that makes a lot of sense. That most certainly makes a lot of sense. That's absolutely insane, though. That is insane. That is a lot of numbers, dude. 4 billion? Goodness gracious. So then we see on opening day, One Piece Film Red brought in over 1.2 billion yen, which is crazy for an opening day, making it the third film in Japanese history to make over 1 billion yen on opening day, and on par with Mugen Train in 2020. It is also the second film in Japanese history after Mugen Train to make 1 billion yen 2 days in a row. To put into perspective how well One Piece Film Red has done, it has already grossed nearly half of what Strong World made in 2009, which I just need to tell y'all this, man. Strong World at the time was a phenomenon. It was a phenomenon, dude. That movie just changed the game in regards to individuals going to watch film, right? Like, at least anime films at the time. Because it was in the middle of the Marineford boom, and Strong World brought so many eyes to the product. So many eyes. So many eyes, all right? So Strong World, for anything to be on that level, to me, is special enough. Let alone to gross nearly half of what it made already. It's crazy. And it's on track to take down Film Z as the highest grossing film in the franchise at 6.87 billion yen, which of course Toei already said they want to make 10 billion. Especially with the Obon holidays coming up and Film Red's great word of mouth. Toei, who was distributing the film in Japan, claimed on Saturday that they were aiming for the highest grossing start in the series, and they very much achieved that. I mean, how could they not? If Shanks is in the phone. Bro, Shanks is in the one, man. Everyone is gonna go see Shanks. I know people who don't even like One Piece who like Shanks. You know what I mean? Like, yo, that's a drawing power. Come on, man! One Piece Film Red opened in Japanese theaters on August 6th. Crunchyroll, who will be releasing the film internationally across the United States, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand sometime this fall, describes the seafaring musical adventures as such. Uta, the most beloved singer in the world, renowned for concealing her own identity when performing, her voice has come to be described as otherworldly. Now, for the first time ever, Uta will reveal herself to the world at a live concert. As the venue fills with all kinds of Uta fans, excited pirates, the Navy watching closely, and the Straw Hats led by Luffy, who simply came to enjoy her sonorous performance, the voice that the whole world has been waiting for is about to resound. The story begins with a shocking fact that she is Shanks' daughter. And then we cut over, of course, to the... well, actually, before I cut over to this news article, let me talk about One Piece Film Red, the excitement behind this film, and the mixed reception that I've been seeing overall right now. We need to take into account, similarly with this... there's you guys know how whenever you go on my anime list or on any list, whatever it is, and anything surpasses something like Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood or one of those, you'll see those fans, they just go review bomb like Attack on Titan, Gintama, all this stuff, right? That is something that we've seen a lot. There's a lot of petty fans out there, and that's not just in the anime community. There's stuff that happens in the video game community as well. There's a lot of petty fans. And I know that some controversy happened with Auto to where people were just already hating on the film just based on the fact that she was involved. I'm not sure what the controversy is there. Like I said, I'm trying to remain as spoiler-free as possible when it comes to this film and anything in regards to it. So I don't know why people dislike Otto or any of that. I mean, I love Otto's voice and all the music I've heard come from Otto, so I'm like, I don't know. So, but I know that that has something to do with it, as well as, you know, any petty fans that just either don't like seeing One Piece succeed or they were like, yo, screw this. But I can most certainly see for this film, besides those, that there may be individuals who do not like this film. And the reason why I say that is, even though I have not seen it, of course, based on what the trailer showcases, it looks like it's going to be a film very different from every other film in the series. And with those type of creative risks, you take a chance at alienating your audience, at splitting your audience in half. For those that are coming to get a classic One Piece experience, when they don't get that, they're not going to get out of the theater satisfied. And so, but then there's other individuals who, they go in there, they enjoy seeing these types of creative risks, and they're going to come out of there stating this is one of the greatest experiences ever. And so I think that's where the mixed reception is. That we have something here that is so different from everything we've gotten so far, at least that's what it appears to be, that you're going to have people who really don't like it because it's not the classic One Piece experience, but then you have others who really, really like it because it is that, because it is not the classic One Piece experience. And so that's the way that I see this mixed reception, this mixed critical reception in regards to this film. That's the way that it appears to me, just knowing how long I've been in the gaming community and seeing how reviews are handled there and whatnot, and how certain games and or movies, whatever it is, that take a lot of risks, or even albums. You know, whenever your favorite artist drops an album and it takes some creative risks that were not there before, you already know there's going to be a part of the audience like, what is this garbage? And there's another part of the audience saying, this is the greatest thing ever. And so it's natural. We're even seeing that with Toei's latest stuff with Roof Piece Part 2 in the anime. You know, they're taking a lot of creative liberties and a lot of risks here, and that is alienating the audience because it is something that a lot of individuals in the audience do not like. They don't like it being a light show. You know, I love the light show, but I can most certainly understand why people don't like the light show. You know, and it's just when you do something different that is not normally what we're expecting from the series, it's naturally going to split the fan base. And so if Film Red is the embodiment of that, where it is something so different from what we're normally accustomed to, then it's like, it just makes a lot of sense as to why it's getting a mixed reception. Now, the awesome thing about this movie, from what I've seen from people who I know have watched the film, is that all I've heard are good things. All I've heard are great things. And so I'm excited to go watch it for myself. I'm not a big review person in regards to I don't like reading reviews before I myself get to experience it, because I want to go and get my own personal experience first before I see anybody else's opinions on it, right? That's the type of person I am. But I do like, so for example, like I remember when Breath of the Wild dropped, and it just received a whole bunch of 10s. That just raised my hype. I was like, my God, look at all these 10s, right? I just saw it everywhere. And so I remember whenever I picked it up, I was like, yo, I'm going to be in for a banger. And the experience surpassed my expectations. And so that's what I'm expecting with Film Red, is that Film Red, I'm seeing the positive reception. I'm seeing all the insane hype. And I'm like, all right, I cannot wait for it. Obviously, it's going to be a movie involving Shanks, this new character in Uta, who I already really like, considering the fact that she's Shanks' daughter. That's an awesome concept. And now you have this beautiful singing behind it. It's like, yo, I'm down. And it's going to be a different experience. Like, I'm all for different experiences. That's why Movie 6 is still one of my favorite movies, because it just feels and looks so different than what I'm accustomed to when it comes to One Piece. That I really enjoy that. And I enjoy stuff like Hungry Days. I enjoy whenever somebody else's creative vision mixes with my beloved One Piece. Like, I love seeing other people's take on One Piece. And so seeing whatever we're going to have here, and the creative risk to take here, I'm down for it. I cannot wait for it. So Film Red, obviously, extremely excited for that. And now for the second news article, it states One Piece reaches 500 million copies in circulation and wins the Guinness World Record. It is by far and away the best-selling manga series ever. This is coming from epicstream.com. And it states, with the release of Volume 103, and we do not have the sales number for Volume 103, obviously, but it was confirmed that the One Piece has now reached over 500 million copies in circulation worldwide, which is just an insane number to me. It is the original numbers for this series, back whenever I first started covering all this, being like in the 300 millions, was absolutely insane in and of itself. 500 million for a recent series, because all of the other ones that have reached this number outside, I'm talking in the comic industry, obviously, there's been stuff like Harry Potter and whatnot, which even more recent than One Piece sold gangbusters, right? But in this particular case, whenever you have a comic, and this is a weekly serialized comic, right? Batman and Superman have been around since the 30s. And they've had multiple different iterations from multiple different artists, multiple different perspectives and point of views. A lot of great stories. I own a lot of Batman stories. I'm a massive fan of Bruce, right? I love me some Batman. And so it's like, I know the phenomenon that those two are in Superman and Batman, and how many individuals own those comics, because they've been around for a very, very long time. And in the next decade, they would have been around for 100 years. And so for One Piece, that's only been around for 25 years, to be at 500 million copies is madness. And this is something you need to follow chapter in, chapter out, or you're going to be lost. I mean, a lot of them are self-contained stories. Like, I could show someone Drum Island and they'll understand, they'll get it. And it's like a Christmas holiday movie, and it is emotional as fun, but they're going to get it. They're going to get Drum Island. They're going to get Skypiea. Like, these are stories that they hit much harder if you follow it in continuation. But I could show some One Piece arcs to individuals who have never seen the series, and they're going to get it. Because that's how good the series is in terms of self-contained stories. And then those who actually follow the adventure from chapter 1 are going to get that times 50, right? So that to me is what makes the series so insane in regards to these numbers. Like, this is a series you need to follow from chapter 1. And it has 500 million copies sold worldwide, making it far away the best-selling manga series ever. The news was posted on WSJ Manga's Twitter account, which says One Piece has now finally and officially reached 500 million copies in circulation worldwide. And then it also talks about the fact that we had the editor over here at the Ichiro Oda staff account state that they received the Guinness Book of World Record for being the comic book series with the most copies published by a single author. According to the info from Guinness World Records, the series has reached 416,566,000 copies in circulation in Japan and over 100 million outside of Japan, which to me is insane. 416 million in Japan, and then 100 million outside of, it's nuts. It's nuts to me. Because I remember when One Piece was the big dog in Japan and nowhere else. You know what I mean? Like, it was like Naruto and Bleach were the big ones over here. And then in Latin America, it was stuff like Saint Seiya and Dragon Ball and stuff of that nature, right? But now it's like worldwide, it has also reached the same type of phenomenon that it is in Japan. And it's just, it's crazy to me. So it's just super, super cool to see this. Obviously, it's the gimmick here on the channel to call it, the best-selling manga in history and whatnot. But I genuinely, from my heart, I love seeing this series succeed, and I'm so happy to see that in the midst of the past couple of years that we've continued to see the volume sales stay consistent, but they're definitely not as high as they once were. We've had a lot of individuals stating that the interest in the series is the lowest that it's ever been, which couldn't be further from the truth. Because we have to take into account the fact that individuals are not catching up to the series like they once were. Everybody who's caught up is caught up now. And there's going to be people who let the series stack. There's going to be people who let the series go. I mean, one of the reasons why the Marineford binge or the Marineford experience was so special for so many people, especially for the casual audience, is the simple story that Marineford is. It's another one of those experiences to where if you were with the journey from the very beginning, it hits 10 times different. But even somebody who just started watching from Impel Down, which a lot of people started watching from Impel Down, you look back at the TV ratings a couple of years ago, we looked at the TV ratings for One Piece's history on a Recon's piece, and we saw how in Impel Down to Marineford, there was a massive boost. And there's a lot of casual fans there. That's why the recaps back in Impel Down to Marineford were so long. And you had the little thing that would pop up showing where everybody was, because there was so many people that were watching that were first time viewers. And a lot of the people's only experience with One Piece was that entire storyline, because it's the simple story of one man trying his hardest to save his brother. Anyone could get around with that. I don't care if you're into anime or not. Anyone could get around with a series of one man's journey to try his hard to save his brother. Very simple concept, executed at the highest level. And so it brings in the casual audience and the audience that's been around for a very, very long time. And so for me, it's not that the interest is the lowest it's ever been. As a matter of fact, I think the interest in this series is among the highest that it's ever been if you just look at the numbers worldwide in multiple different facets. If we don't just look at the volume sales, and we look at stuff like, I know Twitter's its own thing, it's its own beast, but the chapters are trending every single week, man. The chapters are trending every single week. The highest, I think, manga chapter thing, that I don't use Reddit, but I remember when chapter 907 dropped, it reached like top 1 or something like that, the top page on Reddit, which I don't know how common that is, but I know that people were making a big deal out of it whenever it happened. And so knowing me, having done this for a long time on both the old channel and this channel, here in the community, the interest in regards to individuals watching One Piece content has never been higher. It has never been higher than it was during the Wano saga. It was absolutely insane on my channel and watching it on other individuals' channels, seeing the mass difference in people coming to watch One Piece content. The interest was there. And it's crazy, the variety in interest. People watching reactions, so many people catching up to the series at that point in time, right? So you have individuals who are just now getting caught up to the series, whether they're watching it on their own, they're watching it alongside a lot of big anime reaction channels, which are also catching up to the series, on top of the weekly manga reading viewership, which that in of itself was also getting much bigger. So the interest for this series, for me, seems like it's higher than it's ever been. And for longtime fans, maybe some the interest of certain individuals is the lowest that it's ever been. But for people like myself, I've never been more interested in the series than I am right now. And I feel like a lot of people in this community feel the same way. And we see that in the constant interactions on a daily basis when it comes to the series. Whether it be toxic or not, it doesn't matter. The fact that this series is constantly in people's mouth right now is crazy. And so for me, rather than just looking at volume sales, rather than looking at the TV numbers, which are both down, what we need to look at is the new numbers. Because now everything's all about online interactions, right? And One Piece's online interactions are absolutely bonkers. Bonkers, right? So I feel like for me, in terms of, I don't know what most of people out there think, right? But in terms of being in the community, as long as I've been in this community, which I've been in it since almost its inception, it feels like for me the interest has never been higher. It feels like the interest has never been higher in the series. That's just the way that I feel. And so as represented here by what I'm seeing here with Film Red breaking the box office and nearly getting up there with Mugen Train, number 2 to Mugen Train, which was we know how big of a thing Yaiba is, right? Like Demon Slayer is on a different level when it comes to just the way that broke into the mainstream audience and truly just was a phenomenon in and of itself, right? But to see it also, the manga reach that too, and seeing that number like 100 million around the world is insane to me. Because like I said, it's always been big in Japan. But now the fact that it's reaching that type of status around the world too, it's crazy. It is crazy. And so this is a great time to be a One Piece fan as we head into the final saga. I cannot wait to watch Film Red. And as the manga heads into the finale here, I look forward to seeing just how far we can go. Can we really, or when will we surpass Clark Kent and Superman, right? Because we're right there. We're right there, man. And I'm excited to see when that day comes. Of course, we only have a couple years left, and so I'm excited to see the trajectory of the series, and if how many more people will get into the series. Will we get another Marineford boom? and whatnot, right? Like, obviously, we've had multiple booms. We've had the Marineford boom, the Dressrosa boom, the Wano boom, where a lot of people were catching up. And due to multiple different factors, it's not just based on the arcs that are happening, you know, we have the Strong World boom and stuff of that nature, but there's always been these stretches where a bunch of people are just catching up at once. And I look forward to seeing when the next time that is, because we just recently got out of one, and maybe Film Red will lead to another one. So we'll see what happens, but it's a great time to be a fan, man, and I'm excited for the future. I'm looking forward to the filler episodes this weekend and next weekend, and for the manga to come back next week, man. But until next time, this has been the Recon Speaks for this week. Let me know what y'all think about all of this Film Red and manga greatness in the comment section down below, and I will see y'all. Have an awesome day. The best-selling manga in history is out here doing it big on the big screen, and we love to see it. I cannot wait to watch Film Red, man. I'm telling you, anytime I hear Uta singing, I'm like, just put me in the theater, dog. I don't even need to know the language. I speak in the universal language of Peak. I don't need to know the language, son. Come on, man.